series number 2. So welcome. I had asked earlier that you would put your name and your 4-H club into the chat so that we can enter you for the draw. And we'll start by saying the pledge. So you can all remain seated, but if you unmute, oh, Suzanne wants to stand. We'll stand. We'll stand to do the pledge and go from there. I pledge my head to clear thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, and my health to better living for my club, my community, my country, and my world. All right, so we'll begin with oops, went backwards. We'll go the other way now. No, sorry guys, I got to back up here. Oh, I'm froze. Okay, we're going to start by thanking our sponsors. We'd like to express our sincere appreciation to our provincial partners and supporters for their continued investment and support of our 2021 Leader Program. Thank you to the Diamond Clover sponsor, the Alberta government. And thank you to our Emerald Clover sponsors, Alberta Recycling, Eltalink, ATB, Calgary Stampede Foundation, the Chartered Professional Accountants, UFA, our Gold Clover sponsors. Oh, sorry, am I not sharing my screen now?
No, Tracy, you're not.
No, I'm not. Okay. There. Sorry. Our Gold Clover sponsors, AFSC, PV Mart, Save On Foods, Service Equipment, Wolf Carbon Solutions, Inc. And then our Bronze Clover supporters, Federation of Alberta Gas Co-ops, Gas Alberta Inc., MCS Net, Olds College, and our Green Clover sponsors, Plains Midstream, Farm Credit Canada, and then our 4-H Canada national partners is also Farm Credit Canada. All right, so the agenda for the evening is the welcome introduction of sponsors. Marissa going to talk about what are the leader requirements. Bernadette is going to give us some tips on completing your leader screening and what are the member requirements. And then we're going to go into a breakout room for just a short discussion with the people that are on the call. ATB has a presentation, and then a message from 4-H Alberta Board and CEO Kurt Kinnear. And then the wrap up. Thanks for coming and don't miss next week. So Marissa, you're here, right? I'm sure I've seen you.
Yep.
Okay, so Marissa is going to go through her slides. Marissa is the Peace Area Coordinator.
Tracy, you'll probably have to make her a co-host. Nope, she's got my slides. Oh, good. So I am the lucky lady that when you guys are doing your training, I get notification and I put it into your guys' leader profiles. So with that being said, our 2 mandatory trainings for our trained leaders And this qualifies for anyone that is a general leader, a project leader, your club registrar, anyone in a circle of trust, basically. Youth safety is important. The youth feel safe, can focus on learning and developing their skills. Staff and volunteers feel protected and prepared. Liability exposure is limited. The youth safety is available on our 4-H Alberta website. If you haven't done it yet, it is a wonderful course. It is also fairly quick and easy to do. It's about an hour and 15 minutes of YouTube webinar and an attached quiz. And that is about it. As you can see from this picture in particular, one of the things that we're really focusing on is the rule of two. The rule of two is your 2 trained leaders with your members, or 1 trained leader and 1 screened volunteer. This is very important as these are the people that have gone through our screening process as well as completed their trainings. If you want to go to the next slide, Tracy. Our second training, which has been out a little bit longer than our youth safety, is our Commit to Kids training. The Commit to Kids training is a little more work. It's 3 to 4 hours or over a few nights. It is very important. It is your abuse prevention and duty to report. The Commit to Kids online training provides up-to-date, accurate, and relevant information to keep children and youth safe and prevent sexual abuse. An overview of other forms of abuse and the abuse and inappropriate conduct reporting guidelines for 4-H Alberta, or 4-H in Canada, sorry. This is a program that is used by many youth organizations, not just us. So it is a very good program throughout Canada. Again, you can find it on our 4-H Alberta website. It is a little bit of a struggle to get into as you have to create a 4-H Learns profile. That being said, the 4-H Learns has a vast amount of wealth of knowledge in it. So even if you are using it to get into the Commit to Kids, it is a great resource to use as well. And just a little bit of information between what a screened volunteer and what a trained leader is. Your trained leader is your screened and trained, so they have both Commit to Kids and your Youth Safety in Canada training. Your screened volunteer simply just has their screening completed through the 4-H Alberta program. Does anybody have, are we doing questions, Tracy? If there is any?
Yeah, if there's any, we can do a few questions now. Sure.
Good evening. I was just wondering if when you commit to do the Commit to the Kids and the other training, do you have to do it the second time, or is it just a one-time training you have to do?
As of right now, it is a one-time training for both of them. My understanding is that may change in the future, but as of right now, it is just a one-time training.
Thank you.
I guess the other thing to note with the Commit to Kids in particular, we get the Commit to Kids list once everybody's completed once a month. So if you do it within the first to the last day of a month and you don't see it on your profile right away, look after, I won't have it until the following month. So, so we're not forgetting about it or anything like that, but we do just get the training or the list once a month.
Marissa, can I ask a quick question? Does everything carry over from year to year? Like your references and police check and all that stuff?
Yeah, so I believe Bernadette will talk a little bit on that. Is if you are not due for screening, it'll carry over from year to year within that 3-year window. once that you're ready to rescreen, then of course you'll have to carry it over to the year that you have to rescreen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. If there's no other questions, we're going to move on to Bernadette. Bernadette Sarita is our registrar, and she keeps us all together with this stuff. So Bernadette, you can go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I can't believe how many of you are here. That's awesome. And it's great to see some faces. I just want to go through and touch them. Communicated with a lot of you, but have not had an opportunity to meet or see each other's faces. So the screening, any adult who is serving in a position of trust in 4-H Alberta. Position of trust includes working finances, working with youth, being a general leader for the club. There are many organizations, and with the positions of the perception of the youth that we serve is key. So if they perceive being in a position of trust, the organization at the region level absolutely must. 4-H members to ensure that we are providing a safe environment as we can for young people. Volunteers. Screening also gives us an opportunity to clearly communicate our values, policies, and the code of conduct and provide standardized training for you all. So you all, probably most of you know, I'm thinking a lot of you will know that we have now started to sign a code of conduct every year. I should tell you too that all staff and board members are under the same requirements. They also have to provide new screening every 3 years. So new police check. They have to do the same training that you do, plus some extra training. Training used to be required every 5 years, and that changed to every 3 years just last year. And that's across Canada. 4-H Canada sets that requirement. So tips and tricks. I saw that on the agenda and thought, who named this? I don't really have a lot of tricks, but tips. Read the instructions. There's instructions. There's an instruction sheet that comes in your email. You can download it. And also while you're completing the application, read those instructions because they're there. They're clear. They're small, but they're there. Tip number 2, acquiring a current police check is the part that'll most time and effort because you do need to visit your local detachment in most cases, although with COVID, a number of detachments have gone to providing them via an online service. So you submit your letter and your information and a copy of your ID online, and then they either email it to you or you require you to come and pick it up. But that is the part that will take the most time. And that letter is available within the online application form, or you can acquire it from one of our staff people. Generally, police detachments don't charge for vulnerable sector checks for volunteers, but there are a few that do. And it seems to depend upon their administration setup. So if they're getting administration from their local municipality or something like that, then there may be a fee. We have no control over that. We do have a membership with Volunteer Alberta, and that should cover the costs of all those detachments that participate with Volunteer Alberta. And again, not all of them do. So next slide. I think that was more than tip 2. Thank you, Tracy. So tip 3, if your online application is done, looks good to you, it's all there, but it won't save. or it won't submit. It just flips you back to it. Look for the section that is, see those boxes are outlined in red, and the reference emails and verify the emails are noted. So the areas that are most likely to prevent submission of that application form almost always occur in this area. People think that they should enter the reference's name in the first spot and email in the second spot. That's not the case.
Bernadette, just try shutting your video off.
Email twice, and each entry has are on the basis before or after. I always tell people if it looks perfect, how is that a little better? Hello?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Bernadette,
can you hear me
shut
now?
your
Anybody?
yeah, that's better.
Okay. It is better. The sound's better.
At
My other
times.
option is to go on my phone. I would leave here and
Oh, now she's gone. She'll maybe come back in on her phone. Hey, we just got to watch for her.
Is this where you offer a song and dance, Tracy?
Yeah, I guess so. Hey, a good joke. I don't know.
I'm back.
You're back?
Maybe I should call in.
Maybe you should call in. Because we
Can you
really
hear
want to
me?
hear what you have to say. Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
No, I'm calling. Oh, you can?
Yep. You seem to be good right now, Bernadette. No. Bernadette, that's no good. You're gonna have to call in.
Application form here. Okay, it keeps telling me my internet's unstable and it just kicked me out there for a second.
Yeah. Do you want to try calling in?
She left an I. Okay, I'll be back.
Yeah.
Give me a minute.
Yep. Her slides are brilliant, so we don't want to miss this.
No, they are brilliant. It was like that was the joke, is she would ask if it was good and she'd sound good and then she'd start talking.
And then she would go back into her
Her
pool of water or whatever we want to call it.
Her swimming pool. She's just trying to multitask tonight.
You guys, I just want to add in here that a lot of the things she's saying seem obvious, but they are some of the main questions that we as ACs get. So the biggest thing is that tip number one, just read the instructions and it'll tell you most of what you need to know. And then if you have problems after that, let us know. So some of these basic things are what people have problems with. And on to Marissa for a little ditty.
She's coming in now.
Oh, you're lucky, Marissa.
So, can you hear me now?
I think
Hello?
so.
Now.
I think so.
Okay. Okay, we'll try. I'm looking at my phone screen, which is terribly tiny, but that's okay. I only have 4 slides, people. Bear with me.
We will. Yeah.
Anyway, so Ivana left us, she left a space after registrar. The 2-leader screening emails are spelt differently, you can see. And in that last one, she left a space in front. So anyway, tip number 4, little humor here. Let's hope Ivana read some of the instructions and remembered to contact her references first before she entered their emails, because as soon as you submit your application form, the system sends out automatic emails to all of those references. So new leaders require 3 references. Those who are rescreening with us just require 1. Remember that your references must be people, no pets, no children, please. And they must have known you for at least 3 years. They cannot be family members. So next slide's good, Tracy, please. Okay, so I know with the new system that there have been some concerns and issues around that word incomplete after the references. But I call your attention to the number that comes after incomplete. Now, once you've submitted your application, it will show you that it has been submitted and you won't be able to get back into it, but your references will show as incomplete until you are approved. Now, in this case, Ivana's references have been approved. So although it says incomplete, it also says 3 over 3 or 3 out of 3. And there's the references names, and those are the dates on which those references were approved. So don't be concerned for right now that it says incomplete there. If you're screened, you're good, and that will show up for you on the next slide. Tip number 6, remember to scan and email your police check to me or 4-H Alberta. You can also copy your area coordinator if you wish, but I need to get it before you put it in the mail. We consider that some insurance. We've lived through a couple of postal disruptions. And so sometime, there's been strikes and those have been quite late. Again, volunteers who are completing screening for the first time must mail in the original police check. We're happy to return it if you want it returned. You don't even have to send me a self-addressed stamped envelope. I will mail it back to you. Those who have successfully screened with us previously can just submit the email copy, scan and email a copy. Now, if your detachment is one of those ones that is providing you your police check via email and you're a new leader, then you need to forward that email from the RCMP detachment to me, or that's one of my email addresses there, leaderscreening@4hab.com. Tip number 6, I missed that, didn't I? Sorry. I have 2 tip number 6s. Oh my, I'll have to fix that next time. If you entered the wrong email for a reference, you see the red box there with the arrow to it is where just below there is your personal link to a reference form that you can send to another reference if needed. I think that's all on that page, except for the numbering error. Ivana's happy on this one. Yeah, Ivana. She's joyful because she's approved now. So each time that a component of your screening has been reviewed and approved, so when the application is approved, you get an email that says your application has been approved, reviewed and approved. Each time one of your references is approved, you get an automated email from the system that tells you your reference, and it gives you the name of the reference has been approved. So watch for those. Because they're automated, your server may put them in junk mail or spam, so you might have to go find them. But you can see on Ivana's profile right at the top, it says screening approved 2021/22. So she's approved for this year, her application's approved, all her references now show as approved because she is completed. And her police check just shows as complete. The date that is on your police check is the date that is entered to your screening. And we can't really take an outdated one unless by chance you forgot to send me your police check last year and you started the process last year. And again, if you're new, I need the original. If you're returning, you can send me a copy of that police check. But your screen date will match the date on your police check. So if your police check says September 2020, then your screen date is 2021. This year, we're taking anything from June forward, if you got your police check during the summer, because we were heartily encouraging you to continue with your screening. Janice, the online leader application is when you log into the online registration system to your profile, on your dashboard, there is a white square and it says screening. If you're due to screen and you click on that box, the application will pop up. It'll open for you. As it used to open every time you clicked anywhere in your profile. So that may come back. Somebody's entering my contest already. Sorry, being on my phone means all this stuff is showing up for me. So I don't have a lot of tricks, but start early, plan ahead is always good. If you're not registered with us yet, you or your general leader can contact us and we'll get your screening started early. We had a lot of people who were getting their rescreening or screening done during the summer months. I apologize that you weren't approved yet, but I'm not able to approve you until you exist in our system in the current year. So I have some workarounds for that to get some of it done, but it's just a time crunch during these couple of months when you're all trying to get your clubs registered. Communicate. Remember, we're all here and we're ready, able, and happy to help. Your area coordinators are an excellent resource. They have tons of information, and you're obviously free to call me about your screening or any of your issues with the ORS, please. Remember that you're a valued volunteer. So I know that's not a trick, but it is true. And I just lost my screen.
Tracy, did your screen stop sharing? We're back.
Should be back.
Bernadette, does the system still show or send out an email to the leaders that need to be screened every year, or is it up to us to go check our profile every year to make sure we're still screened and everything's good?
Oh, Bernadette, you're muted.
Unmute. The host muted me. Way to go, Tracy. Maybe it wasn't Tracy. Maybe it's just my internet connection. The system does send out automatic emails as soon as if you're a returning leader and you need to screen or rescreen, as soon as you're added back to your club, it should send you an email telling you that you're due to rescreen. Or it may not now until your club's approved. I'm not certain about that. It used to send it out as soon as you were entered to your club again as a returning leader. If you're brand new, you will not get the email until your club is approved. So that's where one of my tricks comes in, is you can contact us and we can add you to, we have a screening club. I have a special screening club called the 4-H Advantage Club. If you get emails from there, you can disregard them generally because it's just me trying to approve your screening in the current year, even though you may not yet be registered in it because your club is not approved. So 4-H Alberta Advantage Club. If you get a welcome email to that, don't be concerned. I can't read.
What are you saying about key leaders? We're not part of the club, we're part of the district.
Yes. So same thing. When the regional clubs are approved, you're listed in the regional clubs generally, then though you will get the email that way, or shoot one of us an email, either your area coordinator, or you can send it directly to me if you want me to add you to the Advantage Club so you can look at your profile. I can do that. And we, it's temporary until your screening's done, and then we'll take you out of there. It doesn't really affect anything in the system because it's one of our non-traditional clubs, but it will generate the email to you and get you the information you need. Does that answer? If you add more leaders to your club, after your club is approved, the leaders should be getting the emails automatically. Now, make sure you do that in the new platform. If any of you have registered for programs via the older platform, doing anything in that platform is a little hit and miss at the moment in terms of having those automated emails sent out, but it is working fine for program registration. And yes, Jane Ellen, they can go in and check themselves, but I believe what was being asked is whether or not those automatic emails are still going. There has been some concerns amongst both our volunteers and leaders that those aren't going. And there was a brief period of time earlier in October when they were not sending. And I apologize for that. They are going now. And if there's any issues, again, contact us. We can check. I can see whether or not the email sent. So, and we can regenerate them if necessary. A link to the new platform. Well, you should have that. Is your club approved, Lindsay? If it is approved, then the new platform is the old address. And when you're in the new platform, you can link to the old one to register for a program. Isn't that just about as clear as mud?
Yeah, thank you. I'll have to double check. It's just all my stuff I did last year isn't showing up on my profile this year. So I just didn't know if I have to redo everything every year. So I'll try.
Oh, no, you don't have to redo everything every year. And if my internet connection was better, I could check that out for you right now. But I will note your name.
No problem. I can email you after too, Bernadette. That's fine. Thank you.
Yeah. No, if you were doing it last year, it just won't show up in this year because you did it last year, right? If you started it last year, it may not yet be showing in this year. I'll just have to go see what the issue is there. Also, sometimes some of our leaders have more than one profile. So if you're thinking you did all your screening, but it's not showing up, it is a possibility that a new profile was created for you this year, and those need to be merged in order for that information to come back. So do reach out and we can check that for you.
Okay.
I'm reading this long question here. Give me a second.
Oh, another question. Okay.
This new leader has no training. It's not screened. Okay, the question, if everybody wants to hear it, is what happens if a new general leader is voted in by the 4-H members? This new leader has no training and is not screened, and they don't get the screening or training completed at all. Does one of the trained leaders registered to the club get notified by 4-H Alberta? Does 4-H Alberta ask the new untrained, unscreened leader to step down? 4-H does ask that new untrained, unscreened general leader to complete it. And if they don't, they are moved to the volunteer status. And volunteers cannot be general leaders or club registrars. Club registrars and general leaders must be both screened and trained. So they have to be leaders. Now, we haven't been really strict on this in the last year or two as all these new requirements from 4-H Canada rolled out. That's going to change this year. We've been, trying to get the message out for a number of years, as many of you know, in the scoop and in just letting everybody know it was coming. That's why we're kind of ahead of many other provinces in terms of our numbers of leaders who have Commit to Kids training. So yeah, we will be moving those people to volunteer status, and someone will reach out to the club, most likely your area coordinator, and advise the club that a trained screen leader needs to step in. Now, clubs this year aren't even being approved until there is that minimum of a trained screen leader and at least a screened volunteer. So you must have those two. Does that answer for you, Jody?
Yes, it does. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay.
Call me anytime.
If anybody has any other questions, you can email Bernadette. she's got an email address there, the leader screening email, and she's also got a registrar email, right, Bernadette?
Yes, I do. I have registrar, leader screening, and Bernadette.Sarita, all of them at 4hab.com. So find me. You can find me. It's easy. I've probably emailed you.
It looks like she's got a little prize thing going on there. If any of you email her and tell her 2 tips to win the special door prize. All right.
Yes, I do. And I got a whole bunch of emails already. So keep them
there
coming.
You go.
It's going to be a random draw. Okay, bye. Well, bye from talking.
Okay, I'm just trying, my computer has froze to share the next slides.
You're not sharing anymore either, Tracy.
No.
Just so you know, when you...
So our next presentation is about member requirements, and the area coordinators Brenda and Connie Lynn will be presenting this. I'm just getting your slides up, guys, and then I'll get back on the screen.
So I think I'm up first, Tracy. I'm on my phone, guys, because my internet is terrible. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Perfect. So while Tracy gets that going, thanks for inviting us in. We're pretty excited. Regrettably, Pam, our area coordinator in the Northwest, isn't able to join us today, and she's the one who organized our slides for us. She's dealing with some stormy conditions, no power, and frozen waters. But Marissa in the Peace is here, and Crystal Deshane in the Northeast is here, as well as Brenda Murdoch in East Central, West Central. Jane Ellen Forbes, our new area coordinator in Calgary, and myself in the South. So we're really excited to be here and talk about a few different things about member requirements. I think that if you have any questions, you can jot them down in the chat. You can take them to the breakout sessions that are coming, or you can send a note to your area coordinator. Our goal tonight is just to provide a quick overview of kind of consistent messaging within 4-H in our valued community. So Tracy, if you wouldn't mind moving to the next slide, that would be great. And maybe the next one. So a 4-H member in good standing has completed all 5 of our member requirements. So our 5 member requirements means you have completed a record book for each project. Sorry, Pam, they're all, or sorry, Tracy, they're all transitioned. You can just keep pressing and they all will come up. It means you've attended 70% of your designated club activities. You've completed your club approved communications activity, and you have participated in your club approved community service activity, and you have participated in your club achievement event. Thanks, Tracy. And again, please. So number 1, completing a project book. This is probably, your record book is probably the one area where we get the most phone calls. So what are record books? Record books are living documents. They're available for every project. I just keep hitting the thank you. And they're available in hard copy and or downloadable. You will notice that we do have some project books that are record books that come from different provinces. Those are downloadable and probably not available in print format. But the ones that 4-H Alberta creates as resources are typically available in printed format. So, I think we lost our stuff, Tracy. Thank you. So why do we need to complete record books? Record books help us make an informed decision, and they're useful tool in reducing expenses and or increasing revenues. Thanks, Tracy. And then the one question we get a lot about record books is, do we have to complete every page in the record book? So as a club, you absolutely can determine which pages are required based on the age of your club members, the actual project, and the skill level that your general club members have. However, before you encourage your club or your project to remove record book pages, please make sure that you are aware of any regional or district competitions that are available for your members, because removing those record book pages may make your kids ineligible to compete. So all we do is ask that you have that informed decision and let your members know that there is a competition, what the competition guidelines look like, and then decide together whether or not you're going to move forward in that competition or whether you want to remove some of your pages. Thanks, Tracy. So what are the parts of a record book? Our standard old school record book was just one document, and in the past couple of years, these have evolved into more of a base book and insert. So the record book formatting will vary among different projects. If you just click again, Tracy, that'd be great. So some will be all in one, like Exploring 4-H. And then the other ones will be a base book with project inserts. The idea of the base book and project inserts is that your base book has the about me and your story in it, and it has some financial tabulations of a compilation of all your projects. The idea is that you only have to have your members write their story once, and then they can add in the project inserts. It's super helpful for members who have more than one project on the go. And then the other question we get a lot about, how are record books marked? You can decide how to mark your record books, but you do need to communicate this at the beginning of the year to all of your members and their families. Most books have marking guidelines in them. Pardon me, you can follow those or you can create your own. Some clubs will assign a complete or incomplete to the record books. And
One more.
one more. And then others will follow the competition guidelines from their region. So, you know, you can make those decisions as a club. We just ask that you reach out to your districts and regions and make sure that you create the largest opportunity for your members, whether it's at club, district, or region. And whatever you decide with your club members, please make sure it's communicated across the board. Thanks, Tracy. So essentially, we just want everybody to realize that record books let us know the value of our projects. Thanks, Tracy. You can go ahead. So number 2, attend 70% of club designated club activities. Tracy, you can press a few here. So club approved programming can or may include your club meetings, your club events, workshops, project meetings, project activities, you went a little too far, project workshops, and district or regional activities designated as club activities. Thanks, Tracy. Next one, please. The most important part of all of this is to make sure that as leaders, you and your club members discuss and decide what is mandatory and what is optional programming. Many clubs have this listed in their constitution. Others put it in their program plan at the beginning of the year. It should be voted on members, and it should be written down. The other thing that is really important to talk about when you're determining club membership and meeting your 70% is halfway through the year, you will have red flags on some members who are not meeting their 70%. This is a really important time to coordinate with your members and their families and identify that they're at risk of not meeting their 70%, and create opportunities or ensure that they are attending to make sure that they get their year, so they're a member in good standing. We are full, our entire organization of leaders is full of grace and opportunity. And we see it time and time again where a member is at risk of not meeting the 70%, and leaders go above and beyond all the time to make sure that they have options that meet their family needs. So we thank you for that. And I just want to make sure that everybody is kind of communicating at that mid-year level. Tracy? Keep going. And you can skip ahead again. And I'm going to pass this over to Brenda, and she's going to talk about communications activities.
All right, thanks, Connie. Thanks everybody for being here tonight. We really appreciate how many of you took the time to be here. So communications activities. Yes, thank you. You can click, I think, 3 more times there, Tracy. So the basics of the communication activity is that it has to be prepared by the member, presented to a 4-H group, and it has to be 3 minutes in length. So go ahead to the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4 more clicks. Yep. So there's 2 routes for communication activities. You can do non-competitive or competitive. So if you're non-competitive, you don't have to follow the provincial rules. So emceeing a function or activity, giving formal introductions to thank yous to guest speakers, presenting a report on a club activity, facilitating a project workshop. So it can be anything like that. So you can be very creative. Next one. Click, click, click. So then the competitive route. So now you're going to follow district, regional, provincial guidelines. I think 1 more there, Tracy. So these come in 2 forms. You can do a prepared speech or presentations. And you're going to have rules and guidelines to follow. There's an organizer's guide, judges package, videos. So all of these you can find them on the website, or you can contact any one of us to help you with that as well. I think there was a question, but I think we're going to the end for that. So basically the communication, that's one of the things that members, when they're out of 4-H, say it's one of those things that was one of the most valued from 4-H, and it's a lifelong skill set, that being able to speak in front of others. So community service activities is number 4 for member requirements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks or 6 clicks there, Tracy. Very important to know that your community service, it cannot be a financial benefit to your club. So even if you're renting a facility normally and they're going to give you some like a little side benefit to that, if you do some work there, that's a financial benefit to you. So this has to be something of members giving their personal time and energy, you're helping the community, and you're hopefully doing it as a group. I know that these past years with COVID, it's been a little different. Members, I'm just reading the chats as it come in. Members did do some individual stuff because you just couldn't get together as a group. But I mean, the most effective or not effective, I can't think of the word right now, I don't know why, is if you can do it as a group, and then you bond as a group and you show yourselves as your club in your community. So as a club, you're going to determine what's a suitable activity for you. Next slide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clicks. Yep. So here's where you can decide. It can be basically anything that you want to do to help your community. So cleanups, bike servicing workshops, food drives, volunteering at different organizations in town, hosting a community dinner, tree planting. So I know this past year, the clubs with COVID, the seniors, I heard quite a few clubs did, and they went and did outside of the seniors' home, they went and did parades with their animals and stuff and showed their project work. So you can be really, shoveling snow keep those ideas coming in. There's endless possibilities for community service. Next slide. So basically the community service is about supporting your community. There is, I don't know if anybody's using the Google Classrooms. There is a place in there to share ideas about what you guys are doing, and so other people can get creative as well. Club approved achievement activity, member requirement number 5. So this is 3 clicks, I think there, Tracy. So this is your members' chance to shine. This is the chance for them to showcase their projects to the public. One more, and they can show show their projects off and how much work they put into it and bring it all to wrap it up in a neat bow. Next slide. So achievement days, every club has an achievement day, and what that looks like can be different. One too far. Sorry, Tracy, I didn't tell you how many clicks. So the livestock clubs do, they'll do their achievement day will be the district event, right? So it can look different.
Do you want me to go
club.
back?
Yep, back one slide. Yeah.
Okay.
And each project has its own expectations as to how they would want to present what they're doing. So salt projects, for example, are going to look a lot different than your livestock projects, obviously. And you want to just recognize and reward members for each project and the work they've put in them. Next slide. So we kind of went over this next slide already. So it can vary, your achievement day can vary whether you're doing it at a club level, a district level, or a regional level. 1, 2, 3, 3 or 4 clicks there, Tracy. But you want your members to plan and organize. Remember, we're always, everything is member driven and member plan. So let them plan and organize what they want to do and discuss it as a club and then make it happen. Next slide. And just so this is achievement days, just to sum that up, is just so the members to be proud of their achievements and the club for what you guys have done throughout the year. And this past year, I got to give kudos to you guys because you've been so creative and so inspiring for the rest of us, but keeping your kids inspired and going forward. So thank you very much for that. It has been a very challenging time, but you guys are amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, and then I'm going to pass it back to Connie to talk about documenting member requirements.
Thanks, Brenda. Okay, go ahead if you don't mind, Tracy. So how do we document our member requirements? We use our diary. So I think there's a couple clicks in here. So I guess the big bold thing there is if you're interested in a diary workshop, if you're not sure how to fill them out, contact your local AC and we can hook you up with a really great webinar. So why do we fill out the diary? We want to record our involvement and participation. They should be done annually. And I think there's a couple more in here, Tracy. And a couple more. Thanks. And we use it to track our personal growth and skill development. So how do you fill it out? You start at the very beginning. Each page has instructions, and you essentially record your participation at the club, district, and regional levels and beyond as well. There's a couple more, Tracy.
Yeah, down to record participation beyond 4-H.
Yeah, and that's so. If you have questions about how to fill out the 4-H diary, please give us a shout. It's really important that they get completed on an annual basis because they're hard to remember what you did if you go back. And, you know, there's lots of members are like, oh, I don't really know if I want to do one. When it's time to go to different events or it's time for scholarships, we use the diaries quite a bit. So it is really important as leaders that we get together with our members and help them fill them out so they're accurate. Thank you, Tracy. Keep going. So this is the one topic that comes up usually at the end. Oh, too far, at the end of the year. And it's really not our favorite topic, but it is probably important that we kind of discuss it. What is a member not in good standing? So if you have a member who has not completed any or all of the 5 requirements, you need to let us know. So I guess the biggest thing as a leader is to keep track of the requirement status and communicate any concerns that you have with a member participation with a member and their family. It's important that everybody's on the same page, understanding repercussions of not being a member in good standing, whether that's how it affects market projects, prizes, scholarship eligibility. we're here to help in this situation. So if you have a tricky situation, give us a shout. We can help you walk through some different kind of steps to maybe make it better or give you some thoughts on how it should roll out further. As a leader, we do ask that you report a member who has not met their requirements. And also, on a positive note, being a member not in good standing for a year only affects that current year. Members are always welcome to register again in the new year. We like everybody to start off fresh in the next year and have the same opportunity to have great success throughout the year. And so, Tracy, if you wouldn't mind one more, I think we're just about done here. We're really happy to be part of the team. If you have any questions at all, please give your local area coordinator a call.
We're going to get started here with the rest of our night. We have Erica. Oh, Erica, I should have asked you. Topola?
Topola, yeah, you got it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Erica is joining us from ATB Financial. She's an entrepreneur strategist, and she works with entrepreneurs of all ages and loves coming up with creative ways to help build the business and community. So I'm going to stop sharing, and Erica is going to share her screen and give us her presentation.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm Erica Topola, like what that was mentioned, and I'm an entrepreneur strategist. I do work out of Calgary most of the time, but myself and 5 colleagues who also have the same title, we actually service all of Alberta. So most of our meetings are by phone or virtual, and you can always, it's a free service, and you can always get in contact with us. So if you have an entrepreneur idea yourself or your kids or whatever, feel free to reach out and match up. So I'm going to share my screen. Today, we're just going to quickly talk about, we just have a quick presentation here prepared. I'm going to hit present now. It'll just take a second here on, it's just the basics of banking, budgeting, and borrowing with ATB Financial. And some of you whose children may have attended the 2 webinars we've had in the previous couple of weeks, I presented to them about the 4-H loan program and how that works in with their projects and stuff like that, and just the difference between borrowing and lending, and we really went through that in detail. So this is the very short summed up version. So most of this you'll probably know, and we will touch a little bit on the 4-H loan and how it all comes together. So basically, when you think of a bank, things that come to mind are, you know, you use a bank to manage your money, you use a bank for savings, maybe you do online banking, you do your daily transactions when you go to the store, and of course the ABMs, you know, when you do need to take cash out to have things. So that's typically what everyone thinks banks do, and we do all that. But there's also a lot more to do with banking and how that connects to your community. So in general, with ATB, every dollar you use and spend and save in ATB stays in the province of Alberta for the most part. And so that can look like a lot of things. You know, your paychecks go into the bank, you know, you're paying rent or mortgage, you're paying on credit cards, your business is earning money that's coming in, your rent from different organizations is coming in, things are going out. So it all is kind of a cycle that circles back in and out of the bank, right? And so when you're banking with ATB, it essentially does stay in your community a little bit better than when you're banking with other places. So we always just like to point that out to make sure people understand that, you know, it's staying here in the province most of the time, which is a little bit different and definitely helps out when we can support programs like the 4-H program or like our junior ATB programs, which kind of goes into schools and things like that. That's the benefit of ATB having all the banking in the province. So why might you have a bank account? Of course, you might be sending money, electronic transfers these days. You might need to manage your finances. Lots of places now you have to pay your bills online. You have to set up automatic deposits, all that stuff, so you can do it securely through online banking. Secure transactions, so when you send emails and money transfers, all those kind of things, you know that they're certainly getting to where they're supposed to go, or they can be recalled if it's going to the wrong person or the wrong place. And then of course, like if you have a savings product or something like that, you're earning interest on that money. So instead of just, you know, taking cash out and putting it away in a safe place in your closet, in the bank, it actually earns a little bit of money. So types of bank accounts that we have at ATB, obviously we have everyday check-ins accounts. This is what everybody uses when you go to the grocery store. Typically, you know, there might be a monthly fee, but basically these are used for all just short-term savings. You're not usually saving up for a car in your check-ins account or something like that. Of course, the savings account, a little bit more is made on the interest. There's a lot of ways you can now utilize those savings accounts. You know, you can separate them into like TFSAs, so tax-free savings accounts, automatic deposits into RRSPs, all sorts of things like that. And then of course, any credit products. So that goes for like mortgage, line of credit, credit card, all those types of things. So now the difference, it is important that we talk about the difference between the services and the fees, because there are, depending on where you go to bank, there's always going to be services and there's always going to be fees attached. And so you want to make sure you're getting the most value for how you're using your money. So services are things like the e-transfers, the online banking, phone banking, debit, like the ABM use, even just being able to go into a bank, like those are services, right? And then on the fee side, we have the different within the products, like the transactional fees. So whether that's money charged per e-transfer, you know, usage of the account for 50 debits a month or whatever it is, overdraft fees. So if you go below zero, and of course, just those monthly service charges that give you kind of packaged products that for the most part, I mean, all banks have monthly service charges, and it just, you know, does it suit your need and how you're using your card? You always want to check with your bank, and you always want to be updating that, like set a day once a year where you just call and see if you're getting the best deal, because, you know, banks, especially, we change our products and services, not super frequently, but frequently enough that you can be saving money and sometimes saving interest, like lower interest rates, and saving a lot of money over the years. So definitely worth checking into those monthly service charges. Now, when it comes down to 4-H banking with ATB, so we have a couple things that we really want you to know about. One is the community spirit account. Now, many 4-H clubs do have community spirit accounts, or even just like organizations, not-for-profit organizations in general. So like hockey clubs, ringette clubs, curling clubs, things like that. They have, it's set up specifically because we know that there's often changeover in leadership, directors, all those type of things. This account takes that into account so that it's much easier to transfer people on and off the bank account. Has much lower fees. It really, you have to be kind of a not-for-profit to qualify for it. And it actually has some really interesting savings accounts that you can attach with it too. If you are saving, like let's say, I'm not sure if any 4-H clubs own buildings or something like that, but let's say you owned a building, you needed the roof replaced or something, you know, that might be an account you might want to look into, because it is really geared towards those not-for-profits and those specific things. How you set up a spirit account is community spirit account is you literally just go into your branch and you tell them you're interested in a community spirit account, and they will go over the stuff with you on how to get that set up. You still usually need 2 signatories on it. But with any account you have right now, probably you have that already. So it's just kind of similar, but really, really driven for those not-for-profit organizations. And now, so making a club budget. So often this is one of the things that people, especially the kids, asked in their sessions is like, you know, when we do a project, how do we make sure that how do we decide how much credit we need or things like that? So what's in a budget? Obviously the income, and those are broken down by your fixed expenses, which you probably know if you know, like household, you would say your mortgage, you know, your cell phone bill, your internet bill, like anything that is the same month to month or pretty much the same month to month. Variable expenses, obviously the expenses that can really fluctuate. So depending on your club's, what you're doing, perhaps, you know, travel might be a variable expense. There are some months it's $100 and other months it's like $300. So just those kind of things. And then of course, savings. So how are you working savings into your budget so that you can do additional projects, or you can go beyond whatever you need for credit? So the 4-H line of, or the 4-H loan is $5,000. So if your thing was above $5,000, you probably would want to set savings aside in your budget so that you can afford your project or more projects. So why budget? Goals, of course. So we do have this wonderful little planning budget worksheet. Now this can be used pretty much across the board. So it could be used, you could use it personally, you can use it for your club, you can use it for whatever. It has pretty much all the things that are really common on the budget sheet, you know, so mortgage, rent, property taxes. So again, if you own a building, if you don't, obviously that wouldn't apply. But we'll send this out afterwards as well with like a little PDF. So you could always print this off and go through it with your club so that because the kids themselves, when we did the webinar presentation, they for sure understand the difference between like when we're making money and when we're spending money. They did excellent on all the quizzes. So this might be something you want to prepare just to keep you on track and know how much those projects are, especially if you're a club doing multiple projects, like what the fixed expenses of some of those projects are and what the variable expenses are. So the 4-H loan program, this is available to all 4-H members for their projects, and the only caveat is the project has to be approved by their club leaders. So it's a $5,000 loan, and one of those can fund up to 3 projects that have been approved. So you could use it all for one, or you could split it and use it for 2, however you want to split it. But it can go up to 3. So that's nice because there's quite a few different areas that you can do those projects in. And depending on what your group is interested in, you might allocate, you might split it in 3 and be like, this one's for this project, this one's more for, the teens, and this one's for kind of the older kids. So when you're filling out the application, and this application will also send out, but it is available. Like if you went to a branch, it's totally available. Basically, there's the 7 parts. So the first one is tell us about your club, right? So just basic stuff, club name, where you are, what town you're in, the leader, postal code, like all that stuff. So you know that stuff. Next one, leader approval. So the project approval, I would definitely suggest, now if the people applying for the 4-H loan are all under 18, the 4-H loan will need an adult signature on it, okay? So if that could be the same person that is the leader that's giving approval of the project, that does work. It works easiest because then just one person has to go into the bank, right? Doesn't have to be, but it definitely is easier just for time's sake and stuff like that. So just keep that in mind when you do the leader approval part. And then, oh, sorry, I thought there was more parts to this, but basically I'm going to go back to this one. So project approval, the co-applicant. So that's what I was saying there. That co-applicant space is, so if everybody that's applying for the 4-H loan is under 18, you will need the co-applicant, which is just an adult to sign off on it. And that's just a legal thing. We can't just loan, a 7-year-old $5,000. We have to have somebody signing and vouching for that. So that's basically the whole form. And then you just take it in and I will be honest, I've never heard of any of them being denied. I think they're pretty much always approved. The repayment is like sky high, and it's usually, it seems that all the clubs are very successful at funding their project and being able to market and fundraise and pay that money back. So you shouldn't have any problem getting that approval. But it's there for you, and you literally just have to go into the bank and fill it out. And then if you are at the same time going down there and you're thinking, oh, maybe I want more information about the community spirit account, or I do want to set that up, maybe just give the bank a call before you head down. Make sure you make an appointment if you need to. Sometimes, depending on different branches, there might be one person that's familiar with how to do it, because it really doesn't happen super often. It's just when there are those not-for-profits and things like that that would qualify to open those. And yeah, so that's just kind of a review of what we talked about. We talked about the importance of ATB and how money saved or put into ATB here stays here, the community spirit account, the helpful budgeting resources, which we'll send out, and then of course the borrowing, the 4-H loan program. So if you do have any questions on any of that, this is my email here at the bottom. But also any of your branches should be able to answer questions on these things too. You don't necessarily have to come to me. So that's kind of my presentation for tonight. And I don't know if you guys have any questions or not. If you've ever done a 4-H loan program, I hope it was easy. If you have any additional questions that we don't answer, you can always send them over as well if you think of something later, and I'm happy to email you back.
So one did ask about the budget planner, Erica. Is that on ATB's website though, if they were just to go in there and search budget planner?
You know what? Let me just look in the slide itself. I think we have it at the bottom. Yeah, I do. Let me just copy it here and I'll drop it in the chat. Okay, perfect. Yeah, and it's a pretty generic one. So like I said, you can use it for, so there you know what? I don't think that quotation is supposed to be there where it's right before the word budgeting. I'm guessing that's a backslash, but even if you go to atb.com and if you Googled personal budgeting 101, that should pop up. Okay, perfect. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions for Erica before we move on? All right. Thank you so much, Erica, for being part of this tonight and given a little description about what ATB offers to 4-H, the bank account and the loan and stuff. We appreciate that. Yeah, and if you do get a loan, like I am super interested in seeing the end results of these projects and seeing these kids do their magic. So like, please do send me updates because I actually am very thrilled to get those and very excited for you all. So definitely, I'll put my email in the chat here. And as your club's moving forward, I would love pictures. I would love updates. I would love to hear how you used your 4-H loan or any hiccups that you come across. Like for sure, just get in touch, okay? Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thanks, Erica. Yeah, thanks. Goodbye. See you. Okay, team, we're almost done our presentation here. We are going to move on to now final words from our board chairman, Andy, and then Kurt. So Andy, it's up to you.
Perfect, thanks, Tracy. My internet isn't too stable, so I think I better leave my video off for tonight. Hopefully I'll get through my audio part of this without it breaking up too much. So thanks everybody who was able to join tonight. It's great to see so many leaders enthusiastic about another year of club activities. So that's awesome. These are really excellent set of leader workshops that are being put on. The other ones with the guest speakers, and this one by the staff. A great job by the staff as always. Along with the ATB presentation. Really good stuff. Lots of really important and useful information as well. I don't have a lot to add tonight, but I just wanted to mention, of course, we're all here for the members, the most important part of our organization, but I think, the commitment, the support, and the hours that are spent by leaders, really, they're the backbone of this community, the 4-H leaders and volunteers, without a doubt. And with the extra challenges of COVID to put on top of everything else, your dedication and your leadership really is inspiring. And so I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. And on behalf of the 4-H Alberta board, I just want to say that thank you for the countless hours that you do devote to the success and the growth of those members. You treat them like your own kids. Your efforts are just outstanding in that regard. And you've got an awesome team of staff to draw from with their knowledge and their expertise, and so that really makes for a good partnership. But if there's any feedback or any further ways that we can continue to help and support you as leaders from a board perspective, please feel free to reach out to your area director or myself with your feedback. If there's anything that we can do to help improve things, we sure want to hear your feedback. So really appreciate your time and your efforts and everything you do to keep moving 4-H forward. That's all from me for now, but again, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Andy. And Kurt?
All right, thank you. Can you hear me? I'm looking at Maddie right now. Okay.
Yeah, you sure can.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I thought in on top of or beyond thanking each of you for serving our youth, thought I could also maybe serve you best with a couple real short stories that do have a point to them. So they're not just, I hope they'll add value. So first of all, the first story I have is I'll never forget the first time I showed up at a youth event. I was probably 12 years old, nervous as all get out. My parents actually dropped me off, a little different than 4-H. And I was left in a room full of people, super nervous. And I ended up sitting in a corner on a bench. And I bet you at that point, I would have definitely went home and never come back again. But a volunteer leader actually walked up and sat next to me, and we just had a really good talk. He really connected to me and just started kind of talking about my life. And it was almost like he understood a little bit of what I was going through at that point, even though in my view, he was quite a bit older than me. And that connection ended up leading me into getting involved more and more in youth programs, which eventually actually even led me to this place. But you fast forward a couple of years ago, I think I was about 14 years old. I finished my leadership training program. So I was all prepared to be a leader. And then I ended up leading a camp of 14 boys that were about 3 years younger than me, which I don't think you're allowed to do anymore, but we did it back, 28 years ago. So I went through that experience, and I just remember trying to serve our youth and work through it, and just how challenging it was. It's never an easy thing to volunteer and serve our youth. But at the end of the camp, a bunch of kids walked up to me, and the program had definitely changed their lives, and they'd realized just the value of that experience, and so had I. And now fast forward again a few years later, when I was approached for this role by a colleague of mine. She's like, "You got to do this." And I'm looking at all the cool stuff that 4-H does. And I also knew that there was a whole bunch of people around me that were 4-Hers. My neighbor across the street, he was a 4-Her. 3 of my old staff in my old organization were 4-Hers. The CFO in a tech company I started was a 4-Her. So I ended up being surrounded by 4-Hers. And the things that I could tell with them was they were dependable, they were reliable, they were very resourceful, and you could trust them to get whatever needed to be done. And that experience actually, on top of my son actually looking at all the cool projects saying, "You got to do this, Dad," is what brought me to 4-H. And I can tell you the first year in the job has been full of challenges, a pandemic being one of the key ones, but there was also a lot of challenges going through the merger, and we're still working through a lot of stuff to just continue to improve the experience that each of you can have as leaders. But if I fast forward to this year, I registered my kids in 4-H and sent them to their first club event. And my little 7-year-old daughter is sitting there in the chair next to all these other kids that are running this meeting, obviously with the guidance of the adults in the room that were stepping in. But these kids were running the meeting. One youth kept, he really wanted a position, and unfortunately he didn't get it. And everyone kept nominating him for other roles. And the youth were just working together to run this program. And I was driving home after that experience, and my 14-year-old son looked up and he says, "That's the most welcoming community of kids I've ever been in." And he plays in sport teams and he does all of these things. And he told me that. And I just kind of realized, like, all the work, all of the effort that you put in as leaders means a lot to our youth. It gives them a safe community. It gives them people that they can talk to other than their parents at times. I know I'd love my kids to talk to me all the time about everything, but it's great to have other influences in them. And it also gives them excellent mentors and examples on how to behave and how to live your life from people that aren't your age. And if you kind of look around the world, this is why I still work in youth, is if you look around the world, the influences aren't always the greatest to our youth, but 4-H can be that influence. And I've seen the result of it. And I've also seen the outcomes of that hard work. So I know those are kind of three different stories, but the tip I wanted to say, I've been volunteering in youth organizations. I used to spend a week to a month every year volunteering at a youth organization. And I've been doing that for years. And it's one of the tips that I would just tell everybody, if you're working with youth, is never forget what it was like when you were a kid. And remember that and relate to it. And use that to really connect with them, because it's that connection that adds a lot of value. There's a lot of research out there. 4-H Canada actually presented some at a conference last winter about the value of having mentorship and people from different experiences that have more experience than you, telling you and mentoring you through your earlier development years. So the value you add lasts a long time. And I know it's frustrating. I know sometimes you're probably frustrated with our organization, as I was when I'm a volunteer in other organizations. But I can tell you, we're working really hard to try and serve you. But you are the real backbone. There's only 20 of us, and there's 3,000 volunteers across 4-H, or 2,500. So it's your connection with our youth that add a lot of value. And I just wanted to thank you on behalf of the team. And I know there's a bunch of team members on here. I can see a whole bunch here, but I just wanted to thank you for the service you do for our youth. And I hope that you remember when things get frustrating, or especially this pandemic, I think it's worn everybody down pretty good. We were here for our kids when a lot of organizations just kind of weren't there. And I think our kids, like, they're showing up really well this year, and that's because of you and your resiliency. And I think some of that resiliency comes from those roots of 4-H. So I just wanted to thank you for everything that you do. And like Andy, I'd like to offer, if you ever need anything, I always offer this: pick up the phone and give me a shout. And I'd love people to actually take me up on that. There's some people that do, but I see like Crystal and Lynn and Alinda. Did I say that right? Yeah, thumbs up. Okay. And Lorna, I see all of you on here, and I just want to make sure that you and Lori just reach out if you ever see anything, and just know that your team's here. We're working our best through a lot of stuff, and we're hoping we can't improve everything in a day, but we can sure as heck make one bite at a time and get there. So that's kind of the approach we've been doing. So that is it. So thank you very much again. Thank you for coming to the Leader Learning Days. And I hope you're finding value in these sessions as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Kurt. I'll try put my screen on here now that I'm done sharing my screen. Thank you all for coming tonight. One thing I want to mention is tomorrow night is the town hall meeting. I believe that you should have gotten an email today. Just in the subject line, it was wrong. The date is actually tomorrow. So you don't have to register. You can just come on to it, I think is what it said. And the other place you'll find the link is in the calendar on the website. So that being said, and then next Tuesday, we have Darcy Lang coming to present to us, just so that you can spread the word to any leaders in your club that may want to join, or you all. Next week's session is not recorded. You have to be here in person to hear her. We're quite excited about having her. A few people have heard her at Leaders Conference, and she's going to talk about the 90%. So the 10% that we always hear, we're going to hear about the other 90%. So hopefully you can all join us. and stay safe this week in our newly acclaimed winter weather that we're having. And we'll see you next week. If anybody has any questions that they still want to ask, Suzanne has her hand up.
I just wanted to play a game while we were leaving the screen. That's all. I didn't want to interrupt, but go ahead.
No, I'm done. I'm done. If you want to play a game.
You're done. Okay. I don't
done.
know if Michelle played this last week, but we're going to play it because it is actually one of her little activities and games. For you, everyone that was on with Michelle, as you're leaving the meeting, I want you to unmute yourself, turn your video on, have a big wave, and say goodbye like romper room style to everyone you see on your screen. So turn your mics on, everybody, and we'll start on the count of 3. So you're going to say goodbye, Tracy, goodbye, Maddie, till you can't see anybody else. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye, Tina.
Bye, Maddie.
Bye, Suzanne. Bye,
Jackie. Goodbye, Heather. Goodbye,
Bye, Jackie. Bye, Todd. Bye, Heather.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye, Heather. Bye, Jackie.
Bye,
Keep going. Bye,
goodbye.
Olsen. Bob's family.
Bye, Jackie. Goodbye.